Congregations for Children has several steps through the process. One is the Congregations for Children orientation, which you will find available on the website. We also have just completed the Congregations for Children Church and School Partnership Training. What we'll be talking about now is a supplemental component of that training, which is tips for schools as they develop the partnership. Very often as we develop partnerships and we provide training for churches, we have schools who'll say, well, we want some more information to help us do this better, or at times when we do combined trainings, which is a wonderful way to go about this process. So what we'll be going over now is the Congregations for Children, just some tips for schools as you're implementing a partnership with churches, whether you're working with a church that has come to you for support, or if you're thinking in terms of reaching out to churches or other communities of faith for support. The first thing we want to consider when we're building a partnership is from the school's aspect is, what are your assets? As far as community partnerships, community engagement, what's working well? Do you have a reading buddy type program? Do you have other volunteers coming in and doing components? Do you have a PTO or a PTA? Would you like a PTO or a PTA? Is that the kind of support you could use? Do you have other communities of faith or businesses or nonprofits or agencies currently supporting? So really looking at the assets is a component that's really important. And then as you see where your strengths are, where are there gaps? Where would you plug into a group into those existing strengths, or where does something new need to be developed? And looking at it from each of those angles is really vital from the school's perspective. There must be a contact person. So your school really needs to identify a counselor. If you have communities in schools, it's a site coordinator. Whoever it is in your school, or it may be a couple of people, that will be the point person that will go through the planning. Having the principal engaged, particularly at the beginning, is very important. But we know how busy and that position is, and they may not be available long term to continue that partnership and to continue the planning of that partnership. Ideally, we would also have a team from the school that was there. In a dream world, there may be several communities of faith, churches that are engaged in the school. There may be a PTA president. There may be a business owner or business partnership or agency partnership or nonprofit. And there would be one central person from the school that worked with each of those, that knew what they were doing and could coordinate, so these groups aren't working in isolation. What we're building is collaboration around the kids and something strong, not isolated random acts of kindness, but everyone knows what the others are doing. We don't feel like we're duplicating services with the church across town or another organization. We know how many of what, who's doing what, and we're all collaborating and working together in the dream partnership. As you're identifying those needs and meeting with the church membership to develop that plan, take that planning seriously. That may be several ongoing steps. It may be one long meeting where you get this taken care of, but take that very seriously. Consider the goals and listen to the goals, but make sure that you're working toward what your needs are and that you're very clear and you communicate what your needs are as far as community support. Remembering that for Congregations for Children, an important focus is on building relationships with those children and their families. So anything that the school can do to help provide that avenue is very significant. Making sure that we're listening to each other as a partner and collaborating to build that. Start small, start small, start small. If we're going to develop, for example, a reading buddy program, let's start with a core group. Let's make sure they're trained, managed, and it's carried out very professionally. And then let's increase it as we see the bumps and where we need to adjust. What we want is we want the school to be represented in a very positive light in the community. So when we have community members that come in and they are a part of a very successful, excited team, that in itself recruits and it builds support around the school. So just making sure that we take the steps to do a very professional process with whatever the plan that is developed is. a welcoming environment is tremendous. So making sure the office staff is aware that community members would be coming in, making sure that simple things like the first time the volunteers come in, there's someone to welcome them. Just going through the process to make sure that what is represented in the community is this wonderful welcoming environment into your school. Making sure that if there are other partners that are kind of on the surface, that aren't engaged in a heavy way, but they're kind of doing a few things, bring them into the fold and reach out to your school staff, if your teachers and other instructors and staff members, to say, are there other churches, are there other groups that they know of that may be interested in participating in this process as well. As we implement the plan, make sure that that plan stays focused. It's easy to get started and then jump here and there. Carry it through and make sure that we're following that plan. That doesn't mean that things won't come up that we can't ask, but part of having a plan from the church's perspective is that it's not ongoing emergencies and response, but we know exactly what we're asking for and we know what this process is. Long-term commitment is vital and support to that. And so making sure that we're communicating, and if there are challenges or concerns that we're honest about those, that we bring them to the table. Evaluation in schools, we know, is what we do a lot of, and making sure that we're looking for results. But in congregations, this is equally important. If we're going to provide support, what difference are we making? So making sure that when we put things in place, why is that the reading program is that academic? Are there incentives because there's an absenteeism problem? Then let's monitor it. Did this work? And if it didn't work, let's not dig our heels in and keep doing the same thing. Let's make changes and make sure. And if we have, for example, a group of kids that are going through a particular supplemental reading program and it's not working for them, let's be proactive and say, this isn't working, let's try something else. But making sure that we're moving toward results and sharing and working with the church in those results. Collaboration, we've talked about quite a bit. It is so important, and it is so important at each level that within the school is collaborating. Teachers know, the group knows what partnerships are they using, what businesses are being pulled in, what groups are we requesting, so that we get everyone on the same page. It is huge, and building that same collaboration with the church, with the other partnerships that we're building, are tremendous. They really will determine the success or failure of a good partnership. Another component that is vital is the management of the volunteers. Now, because our school staffs are very often, we just don't have the time to do this, then we make sure that our congregations go through the training and support needed to manage their church volunteers. So it can be managed, but in the school there may be equally someone who does that. So we really need to coordinate this, make sure you're working together, and make sure we go through the process. In additional resources, we have available steps to develop Reading Buddy programs, steps to manage these mentors and volunteers that are coming in, and a process of training. So any of that support that you may need as a school, please let us know and reach out to us, and also look at our additional resources that are available. Say thank you. And thank you doesn't have to come in some grand, big festival. Celebrate and offer that welcoming environment. Think out of the box, and communication is vital to building this. Many times as you're reaching out to churches and you're building that plan, to have an administrator come and present to the church, present to Sunday school classes, anything that we can do to build that ongoing relationship back and forth, and we can build, will just strengthen the work and bring support to the children that you're serving. And we thank you for the work that you do with schools, and we want you to know that we're here if there's any support that we could provide for you.